My name is David Sodeman.
My name is Brett Ellenson.
And I am one of the owners at
Boho Campervans.
I run the marketing, branding, sales, social media, web, tech.
I am in charge of the build shop, anything from ordering materials to job flow. That was kind of honestly the earlier part of my position. Now the position is to getting the company to scale and trying to figure out how we best get a workflow through the shop, along with finding capital equipment to purchase and vendors that we are partnering with now.
Boho is really the unconventional way to live or travel by definition, and it really sort of aligns with what we're doing here. We are providing unique and fun ways to both live and travel by way of off-grid camper vans.
My background's actually in tool and die and fabrication. So I came from Wisconsin and I worked in a tool and die shop. From there, moved out here with the sales company that I was working with to run our West Coast operations. That worked out to me moving in with David for the first couple of years that I lived out here. Naturally was a fit to David being the marketing end and me being on the construction end of the company. I've always been hands-on, riding dirt bikes, four-wheelers, working on those my whole life. Did off-road racing, Baja racing, short course Baja racing back in the Midwest, where we would actually build our own cars, the race buggies, and then that led into racing a pro light truck for a little while. And so everything was kind of all hands on deck, learning partnerships and sponsorships, and that's attributed itself to one side of our company of bringing in the best products possible, but learning kind of the manufacturing and how things go together, how they break, and kind of the best practices in the manufacturing process has really been kind of a key thing that I think is setting us up for a long-term success, distancing ourselves from the pack as far as it goes with other manufacturers.
I mean, everyone's seen the Van Down by the River skit. So many people would say that when they walked in our doors that we actually have a poster in the lobby of Chris Farley outside of a van. It's funny though, because when we first started this business, it wasn't as popular as it is now. And it's only been 3 years. So it's been really kind of a change, a paradigm shift with this whole off-grid camper van living and traveling. Even my father was confused. Just this last weekend, we went out and he finally gets it. I think he wants to buy one.
Every RV that you actually step into, it's laminates, it's glued down, it's particle board, stuff like that. Our big thing was that we wanted the vans to have a longevity to them that you just aren't seeing in the RV industry nowadays. And there's countless reports of actual RV sales companies that are talking back at the manufacturers and saying these cheap building materials are just doing nothing but hurting your product, hurting our image of selling your product. And so we think that having literally a solid product from the hardwoods and just the high quality materials that we're using, it's going to be something that always lends itself to people seeing a true quality in the product.
What I would say is, if you're on a budget, is, figure out what your dream van's going to cost, and then perhaps break it down into manageable steps. You don't have to build a van overnight. Not everybody's going to be building 20 vans at a time like we do. If you break it up into steps, much as though a house would be built, insulation, framing, windows, electrical, plumbing, in the end, you can kind of break it up and even use the van along the way. We've had people come by and they've started certain projects, say windows or electrical, and they've been using and living in their van with bare walls, but they have what they need and they know it's just a means to an end. So I would recommend, if you're on a budget, you really want to produce your dream van in the end, don't have to do it all at once. Break it up and you'll be much happier in the end.
We talk with people all the time that maybe they can't afford one of our vans. We don't give up the whole recipe, right? But we definitely do help them out with certain quality materials. And if they're showing us something that we've had issues with in the past, we'll tell them like, hey, that may be $50 cheaper or $100 or several $100 cheaper than the component they probably need to get. We're just flat out honest with our experience with those products and then the reason that we have shifted off of them.
Anybody can build a van. I am not a construction worker. My background's in marketing. I'm a computer nerd. You've seen what we've built, what I've built. It just takes a little bit of reading, maybe some video watching, ask a lot of questions.
The hemp wool is A great product that is extremely renewable as far as guys working with it in the shop. We don't have to really worry about everyone, masking up and gloving up and getting all crazy when it comes to do installation installs. Some guys do, a lot of guys do, put the masks on just for allergy's sake. It actually is very hypoallergenic as far as the hemp and the wool fiber and the bats, that it kind of just lends itself to being a more natural, holistic kind of a rounding out of the vehicle. Maybe we talked about before, but it's, also the bats are so dense. They allow for a good, audio and, kind of a soundproofing to the vans as well. That's definitely preferred over the spray foam. If this is any kind of a PSA announcement, do not use spray foam in areas that you're gonna have wiring that may need to be addressed at a later date. It just locks everything up, and you might be able to get away with it in certain instances, but we steer kind of pretty far away from that, just for the instance of if something needs to be worked on down the road, which we do have happen, where we have a rental arm that has vehicles that have accidents that we need to get back behind a wall to work on something, or customers that have a van that they might get in an accident that if they get back behind the wall to work on something, a spray foam just wouldn't allow for that, later service to be done in a reasonable fashion, I guess we could say.
You do not have to live in a van. I have never lived in a van. It's one of my dreams, actually. You can use them for weekends. You can use them instead of your tents if you like to go camping. You can use them temporarily for, say, a sales travel trip, visit clients, do long-term, month-over-month rentals. But I've even just used one for an afternoon. Drive the van out into a park, have a picnic, take a nap if you want to. You don't have to live in a van to enjoy it, and I would say most people don't. Vans have sort of gotten a bad rap in the media. There's lots of memes and jokes about either living in a van down by a river or the white van. We were even watching Home Alone this last Christmas, and you see the wet bandits are traveling around in a cargo van, right? Shady characters, but it's opening up more to this realization that, one, people usually think you either don't have money or you have a lot of it. It's one or the other. And what we like to do is to show that you can be right in the middle, and you don't have to have millions of dollars to do this, and you don't have to be out on the street to do this. You can do this because it's fun, it's enjoyable, it gets you outside, and it's really inspiring to know that this is all you really need. And maybe it's a little bit more than you really need. And you'll realize that when you go out and you camp, what's really important.
It's really just been trial by fire with us. We get lucky kind of with the layouts. We put a lot of thought into the initial concept. Like we said before, it was and it was a bit off camera, that we were actually talking about sitting there with tape measures and holding arms out and like what's comfortable levels and distances and head heights, and how do you actually move around the van, because we're actually fighting for inches in these small spaces. So with that, the renters have given us loads of feedback that we get to take and we get to reiterate in new designs. Basically, we're going to have about 3 designs by the end of this year that we're going to have standardized. 2 of them of which we pretty regularly build for customers, and they really just kind of come from people's preferences of how they want to either interact with the outdoors or how they maybe want to interact with their partner or companion that they're traveling with.
It's not for everybody. I think some people sensationalize this idea of being out on the road and living in a van, and you can be lonely. That's the one thing that we're really realizing, is this community needs more community. If you're out in a van, not everybody else is. Most of your friends are working jobs, or they're at the office, or they're with their family, right? And so it's not as glamorous as you would expect, but it truly makes up for it in those moments when you can always catch a sunset. You can always see a new place every day. There's a lot of very cool things that I think people need more of, and maybe you're not living in it full time, but just having these glimpses and these pockets of inspiration, when realizing that you don't need a big house, you don't need every fancy electronic system. You really don't. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is experiences adventure. Maybe being scared once in a while is good for you. Being lonely is good for you because you learn about yourself.
Often called the mushroom of the gods, lion's mane has a long history of medicinal use. This popular nootropic has been shown to enhance focus and increase cognition, helping you feel more productive and accomplished. Research studies have also shown that lion's mane is neuroprotective, giving you peace of mind as you power through your day. Try lion's mane and experience the mental clarity and productivity boost you've been missing.
Yeah, the ProMaster, it lends itself to having the most square cubic feet of cargo space. It's a very good box shape to it. Even though it does curve up, the honest answer is on the Ford Transits and the Mercedes Sprinters, when you see them going on the road, you'll kind of start noticing there's a curvature to them. At our bed height, you lose 6 inches of width on the actual bed compared to the ProMasters. ProMasters are good for having front wheel drive. You know, it's easier to drive a front-wheel drive vehicle in icy or snowy conditions, as well as having a reasonable sticker price to the actual initial buying of the vehicle. We do know the quality of the vehicle. I actually personally drove one of these vehicles as a straight delivery vehicle in the manufacturing sales that I was in. Really kind of put that thing through the ringer because, sadly enough, it was a company vehicle. Got the oil changes on time, kept good tires on it. You know, the maintenance was good. But I mean, as far as loading the vehicle to its limits, probably kind of pushed some of those limits on things. And the vehicle held up for a better part of, 7 years until I had quit the company. So, I mean, that van went on with somebody else. But we just know that there actually is an intrinsic value with the Rams.
Renting is just a really great way to realize if it's for you. You may think that it's this glamorous situation, and it can be, but it's hard. It can be hard. It's a small space. You don't have all the luxuries at home. Sometimes you're using a glorified plastic bucket to do your business in some cases. So it's not what you'd expect, but I think it's good for everyone to at least try it. I would say try it before you do it, because the last thing you'd want to do is spend all this time and effort on building your own van and realizing it's not for you.
We say measure 5 times and cut once because, the actual only warranty that we're avoiding on these vans is a sheet metal roof warranty. And something that we didn't even know was really a thing. And that came from the service department at Ram kind of viewing our builds and looking over, and we kind of like, okay, where are we getting in trouble here? What are we stepping over the line on? We're not really tapping into the drivetrain, and we're not tapping into too many things, but when we're cutting holes in the roof, that's the one thing that, we are avoiding a warranty. We're bolting some solar panels up there. It was always nerve-wracking to cut the holes anywhere in the van, even on the sidewalls where windows are meant to be. So we're not even voiding any warranties on that, even though they're different size windows than the factory would have. They're in locations where they could have a potential window. To say that it's easy now, it's easier. It's not easy. It's always, you see a hole getting cut in the van, you always think like, I hope that was measured properly. I hope, we got the right dimensions for the window that's going in there for sure. It's nerve-wracking, but anyone can do it as long as you just double and triple check your work and then just go for it, really.
So it's kind of crazy. It all came from renting a van. My fiance and I went to Maui and we rented a van there. And we realized it was just the most incredible way to see a new place. There's no backtracking. There's no, let's go do this beach, then we gotta go back to the hotel to change, shower, go out to dinner, come back, change, shower, do whatever. It was very freeing to know that once you left your place, your campsite, you didn't have to go back. And we came back extremely inspired and immediately started looking for a van to build. And that's kind of how it all started. Never really intended it to be that way. I think a lot of businesses, successful ones sometimes come out of inspiration, but travel is really what started it all. And being able to really be outside most of the time in Hawaii is just what you want to do, is what we wanted to do, and the camper van was the best way to do it.
We've taken people from totally green. One of our employees, he worked at Harkin Theaters. We had somebody vouching for him here, that he was a hard worker, and he's been an extremely hard worker. But training him through the process of, woodworking, it's like, what are you comfortable with? This is kind of where we ask people, like, are you comfortable with using a saw? Comfortable with using a drill? Like, what's maybe a proficiency in any of those fields? From there, we can train up completely. But we do, always, enjoy hiring the people on with, a deeper skill set. Maybe an electrician or a plumber and those kinds of things. That's all stuff that, it can be trained, and we do invest a lot of training into our guys. We bring on certain product lines that are a little bit more involved, that require us to work with the vehicle's chassis a little bit more, where we do bring in those service techs to train a handful of people that will then be doing those installs, in our vans, kind of going on the road and keeping their proficiencies up, and any schooling that we can provide to them to set everyone up for success really is kind of the name of the game for us. We definitely invest in that heavily.
We've had some clients request TVs, and we've done them, just a handful. But we always like to recommend that if you really want a TV, it's very easy to just bring your iPad, mount it on the wall. It's not the fixture of the van. Many times, even in my own home, your family room, the TV is the fixture, that is the centerpiece. And with this, looking out the windows is the centerpiece. We will do TVs. We don't do them in our rentals, and I think people appreciate that. Half the time, the places you go, you probably won't even have service, and that is something that takes getting used to. But man, if you go a week without watching television, it really changes you, and for the better.
Like, our guys make it look easy. It is a lot of work. It really is. I mean, you can see the builds in the processes that they're at. And they're, throughout today, like, a lot of the stuff has been drastically different. The finished product is beautiful, but it takes a lot to really get there. The people that start here, they are not quite understanding on what the finished product needs to be. And so maybe that lends them to, not have something as precise as they should, but then they immediately learn that as they go through the build process, one, maybe two times. A lot of guys get it the first time around, but they do understand that it's a haste makes waste kind of deal. There is spots that we can work quicker, but then there's a lot of times when slowing down is really a key fundamental to having the polished product that we demand, really, for when the vans roll out of our doors.
There's this Japanese term called, I believe it's called Kaizen, which is the idea of continuous improvement. And that's something that I think applies to not only vans or your work, but you personally, right? I think everybody wants to just be a little bit better every day, whether it's your health, your relationships, what you do at work. And so we realize that with this industry, there's always things to learn. With our rental fleet, we've discovered what works, what doesn't. It is the ultimate testing ground for finding out what works and what doesn't. And so we take that approach every day. Probably drives our staff nuts a little bit sometimes because there's always things we're changing, but we just want to be better. We always want to be better. We get bored doing the same thing over and over. And I think the clients and the renters really appreciate it. And it's something that's just fun. Being creatives, there's always something better you can do in any aspect of your life. And the same goes for these vans. So every day, we'll look at vans and we'll make tweaks, we'll make changes, and the vans are just better because of it.
Maybe a common misconception would, a timeline thing could be okay, but I would say even at that would be that the customers are a lot of times surprised about how fast the build actually comes along. The more custom projects that we have, they only take, maybe 2, maybe 3 more weeks, depending on how custom they really get. Biggest thing is the lead time that we have to get somebody into a build spot. We do have a bit of a backlog for customers, but when their time slot comes up, we're very efficient with their van coming in, being on time to the completion date. So they do have a set completion date about a month before we even start building on their van. Kind of on the initial talks, the big thing is people do honestly say, oh wow, it's gonna come together that quickly. So I guess that might be a misconception.
Every van has solar panels because it is a renewable energy source that doesn't require anything once it's set up, except the beautiful sun. Traveling around in a van, the van roof gets hot. You ever touch your car in the middle of the summer? It's hot. And it's just the natural place to put solar panels and harness energy. With a van, you're not tied to a grid. The vans move. So you need something that you can generate power with that doesn't require the grid. And solar panels are really the perfect solution for it, especially in Arizona. 300 some days of sun a year. It really works out for having a van company here in Phoenix.
I would say the ease of use of the vans, and the availability for them to kind of travel anywhere. Gone are the days of the, really big RVs that maybe you can't park everywhere. Maybe, you have to take a different route because you can't get up certain, side roads or mountain passes. A big part of our customer base is really elderly women, actually. The ease of use that somebody can still park this vehicle in a parking space, in a grocery store, at a Walgreens, at a Walmart, wherever they want to go, take it to any campground, really. The bullseye for, or the target that you want to hit, you kind of have a much broader range and reach with these vehicles than you would maybe a typical RV.
Look at every RV out there. Most every single RV doesn't have solar panels, right? Unless you retrofit them. They run off generators, they run off shore power, and that's really how they've been built. For us, we took a different approach. It's really a freeing feeling. We just can't wait till we can get off the gas engine and just continuously run a van engine from solar, and we think that's coming soon.
The size of this vehicle is the Goldilocks zone, right? Our E350s that we started with those because that's what we could afford, and that's honestly probably about the amount of materials that we could afford to put in them at the time. And we grew the company, and it really actually worked out from that to where we're at today from a scalability of the company. We saw that the Econoline vans, there was a really stopped production by Ford in 2015. We couldn't have a scalable company with an obsolete product.
When you take a van out and you're in nature, you would be amazed at how time changes. It gets longer. You basically live by the sun. You follow your natural circadian rhythm with the sun. It's really kind of going back to probably our roots as human beings on how to live, right? Go to bed when the sun goes down, wake up when the sun goes up. And we noticed that when we went to Maui. When you're on vacation, you think you're staying up till midnight, you're having fun, you're partying. The sun went down, we were like, we're tired. And we would wake up, and the sun was up, we're like, let's go. And we check our watch, it'd be 4:30 in the morning. We're like, don't usually wake up at this time, but why not? And so it really kind of prolongs your day, and it's really kind of a weird experience. Another example is we went out this last weekend with some family. After we had cooked dinner and the sun started going down and we had the campfire and we were up for a while. In the end, we were all thinking about hitting the hay, going to bed, and we look at our watches at 6:30 p.m., right? When you're around screens, when you're around digital technology, your phones, TVs, whatever it may be, I think that naturally keeps you up. It really throws off your circadian rhythm, and just being outside in nature in a van like ours, or a van that you see someone else build, it really kind of aligns you more to your natural rhythm.
All the vans have solar simply for the fact of trying to be able to get off grid. People want to go out camping, and it's, trying to make the van as green as it can be and self-sustaining. It's got to burn some gas right now. There are some electric options that look like they're off on the horizon, not quite there yet, but it really is something that we wanted, that if people want to go out in the wilderness and just kind of get away and escape. How do they do that? Well, solar. The solar panels keep their battery bank charged up. They keep all their devices charged up. We have a lot of people that actually work remotely out of the vans as well. So when they go on their trips, they got to be able to keep their laptops going. We put cell phone extenders, Wi-Fi extenders in the van to allow them to be able to grab the signal powerful enough maybe to jump on a meeting. And you wouldn't, if you got a beautiful campsite at the edge of an awesome view And whether it be a beach or a mountainside or a kind of beautiful desert landscape, you had to move or start the van all the time or be plugged into a generator that just kind of, maybe wrecks the experience. And we want to get it where people just kind of get to come back to nature and just kind of sit there peacefully. Having the solar panels charge the battery, you can't hear anything, and it's about as peaceful as it gets.
So this is extremely important, not because I've tried to start a million businesses before and failed. This is the first that's actually worked to some extent. But what it really means to me, and the best part about the job, is seeing the renters arrive, scared out of their minds. They're like, are we really doing this? And then they come back, and there's this glow. It's hard to describe. We've even gotten comments about, this trip changed my life. This trip saved my marriage. This trip, I'm totally changing my career path because of this trip. And you see that, and you just can't help but feel fulfilled, right? It's something you sometimes forget during the daily grind, but when you have renters coming in and out, and even clients, we've had them arrive, and we've had women who've lost their husbands. They used to RV, and now they don't because they don't want to drive a 30, 40 foot rig, but all their friends are still doing it, and they're lonely. And they come in and they have their van, totally manageable to drive, and they break down in tears. They give you a hug, and it's something that I've never experienced at another job before. And the fact that we facilitated this in some way is it's hard to describe. It's extremely fulfilling, and I'm just so happy that we found it.
It can be overwhelming. We get people that come in and they're tearing up. In the instance of the vans, we've had where people have purchased a van and with a significant other, and they might have lost that significant other in the waiting process to the build process. And when they show up, man, they're kind of overcome with joy that this is something that their better half or their partner would have loved. It really drives home kind of the product that we're offering, and not just in the product that you want to produce something that's going to last somebody for a long time. I mean, that's just kind of to our core, like what we're always going to achieve. But something that is going to give somebody so many memories along the way that, maybe they're fulfilling a dream that they had, other chapters of their life, or, the people that, younger generation of people wanted to work out of their vehicles, and now they can achieve that. You kind of see what's, to come in their future in their eyes when they come to pick the vans up. And it really means a lot. It actually comes down to being this, I kind of lost for words of how to put it. It makes the whole process just very worthwhile. It makes it so you kind of understand that you're doing something good. You're not just out there selling RVs and trying to get people, in at whatever dollar figure you can. I mean, we know that we have something more than that, something more to offer people. We
were surprised. You think millennial, you think Instagram, you think van life, right? That's what we were expecting. And we do see a lot of that, the demographic with our rentals. But you would be surprised that a majority of our clients are older women, many times single, either by choice, either by heartbreak, but they love this stuff. They love it. And if you've ever gone out camping and you just talk to your neighbors, you're gonna see the type of people I'm describing. It really took us by surprise, but it's even more fulfilling to build a van for someone who is ready to take it and go and not be held down by a job or maybe a young family, which you would maybe expect with a younger demographic. This demographic is really, really taking the van and using it as it's meant to be intended for. It's not sitting in their driveway. They are on trips all the time, and they send us pictures. We know they're doing it, and it's very, very, very cool, very surprising, but we love it. They're really fun to work with, and man, the things you learn from someone older than you, right? Stuff you can apply to your life. I just had a young son. He's 7 months old, and we had a client that was a doula. She was helping me my fiance through the pregnancy. She was providing us all natural tinctures. It's crazy the kind of people you meet and how willing and giving people are when you align on some level. And in this case, it's getting out into nature, getting off the grid, and just seeing new places.
Building Stevie, the first van, was it was nerve-wracking, to be honest. When we were cutting the first holes in it to, put a fan in, and drilling boards down into the floor. The whole time I knew that David had that van on a credit card, and the deal that we had was he was buying the van, and I knew that he was buying on the credit card, and so I was buying all the materials on my half of it. That was our partnership into the van. But as I'm sitting there doing it, I know I am technically destroying this van to an extent to only bring it back to better than it could have ever hoped its life could be. It was nerve-wracking, to be honest. Yeah, we definitely measured 2, 3, 4 times. We'd kind of mock things up. We'd sit down again in it. We'd go back to the drawing board. The toughest thing I would say would be, once we found the dimensions we wanted, going to the marketplace and finding, well, how big is a water tank? How big is a water pump? Where do the fittings come out? What's a sink that we can find? Is, countertops, you name it, from top to bottom. How are we gonna light this thing? From that, it was always just kind of, what are we gonna use? What are we gonna use? What product should be, implemented in this build? Do we go as cheap as possible? Well, no, we can't afford that. So a lot of the things kind of fell right in the middle with that build process. It was fun, and I guess that nervous excitement that you get in something that you really see a vision for. You're nervous because you're like, oh man, if this doesn't take, there's gonna be some wounds to lick for sure. But you're so excited because you do see the end goal and kind of the vision of what that product is gonna be. So that was very exciting, also scary and nerve-wracking along the process.
The hardest part is managing people. As your business grows, you're like, yeah, we can build another van. Oh, we can build 2 more vans. We can build 10 more vans, right? Because you get the processes down. But the biggest variable are the people that help you do it. We've been so lucky to have a crazy awesome staff. I think our turnover is, I think we've only lost 1 or 2 people, and there were some moves, and everyone enjoys the job, otherwise they wouldn't be here. But just the personalities of everybody, it makes the day fun, makes the day challenging. That is something I've been learning to be better at, is managing people. It's enough to manage yourself sometimes, right? And so just dealing with everybody, their personalities, their schedules, their ideas, it's a very collaborative environment. And you just want to make sure everyone feels valued, important, heard. And so just being able to sort of set that up very quickly, which we've been forced to do, has been probably the biggest challenge, but it's been a fun challenge.
That's probably the most gratifying thing that you could ever have. And we look at it still a job that we show up to every day, but it's a job that we love. And I think more people reiterate to me that I'm a company owner more than I feel like a company owner, because we're so ingrained in every single day and rolling up the sleeves, and a lot of the new processes that we bring on, I'm kind of the first person to go and figure those out, and or along with one other person in the shop, that we want to get it so we kind of knock it out of the park and we figure out the best way that install is going to happen. As far as it goes, being a business owner is pretty loaded question of, do you know you're a business owner? Sure, on a business card, but day to day, do I feel like a business owner? Some days yes, but most days no.
If you're interested in building a van, I think the first step is research. There are plenty of places to find out how to build a van. That's how we figured it out. Amazing free YouTube channels, contents, articles, blogs. It's all out there. People are very willing to share. After that, I think it would be very important to find the van that's right for you. We started with smaller vans. Budget constraints is really the main thing. But I think the key is finding something that is going to last. You don't want to buy something that's going to fall apart or has been someone's headache for the longest time, because you're investing your time, your money, your love, your sweat, your tears, your blood into the van, and you want to make sure that the van itself is sound. The foundation is very important. Everything starts with the van itself. So I would recommend finding the van that's right for you, being patient, not buying the first one you find, not buying one because it's a cool color. That can change, right? Make sure it's something that has enough life in it left for what you'd expect to use the van for.
I'd say the most rewarding part of this process is the culture we've been able to build here at our company, as well as the clients as well. I'd say our overall Boho has kind of grown beyond what we thought that our brand could be. We had it as a logo, as a name. We thought it was kind of cool. We've done reiterations of it. We never want to be stagnant as Boho camper vans. And the culture that has come with that, I'd say, has been the most gratifying thing. The culture is everything to us here at the shop. We have beer pong tournaments for holiday get-togethers. We had a bags tournament where we're always kind of like to give out awards and free trips to the guys so they get to get out and use it. A number of our guys are avid rock climbers, so they go rock climbing together. They're always asking us to go and have beers with them after work. The customers that just stop by because they're in town and they're showing us where they've been, the little, intricacies of their van and what they've done to personalize it a little bit beyond the customizations maybe we've done for them. It's very validating to have, good people kind of surrounding you, and having that culture inside and outside of these walls has been something that I think we've achieved, pretty handedly, and something that we strive for to, really keep going in the future.
We have the benefit of being able to have in our very own backyard some of the most amazing places in the world. You have the Grand Canyon, you have Zion, you have the beaches in California, you have the dunes and the white sands in New Mexico, you have the snow and the Rockies and the hot springs in Colorado. We had the benefit of having that in our backyard, and that is a big reason for our success. I've taken out vans that look nothing like maybe you've seen today, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because you are in somewhere so magical that you fall in love with that, and you fall in love with whatever you're with, whoever you're with, whatever you're driving, whatever you're eating. It's such a nice benefit to have this, and we really rely on these experiences in these places to teach and to share on where to go. There's so many places I still have yet to see that are even closer than you'd think, and it just keeps us going. Every weekend I'm thinking of places to go, places that I can go experience and then share with others that want to rent a van or buy a van, and give them my recommendation. There's nothing like a good recommendation from someone who's done it before. And so we're just very grateful to have these amazing places. It's really fortunate.
I would say what makes us different is the materials that we're using. I would say that other builders are probably using similar materials, maybe some of the same materials, but I don't think anyone really has our exact recipe of how we have our vans come together. Maybe they see that they do something better in a different fashion, and maybe they very well could. We've talked with a number of other van builders around the country, and that's been cool to kind of understand the community a little bit. Nobody's telling somebody exactly how they do stuff, because people are holding things close to the vest that they got some secret sauce that they don't want to talk about. But I would say what's setting us, the big things that are setting us apart is the amount of time that we put in procuring our materials that go into the van, and the thought process of why those materials are actually being implemented in each build.
Though we have these beautiful places, I think the key is making sure they stay that way. As the van movement grows and sort of the off-grid living grows, I think it's important to be stewards of nature. Clean up after yourself. These are simple things kids know how to do, and adults don't, and it's frustrating. There's nothing worse than going to a place and seeing someone else's leftovers or garbage right there next to you. It ruins it. I think it's very important, and we iterate this to anyone that goes and travels to places we recommend, is leave no trace, pick up after yourself, take care of your pet's waste, take care of your own waste. These are important things that may seem small, but as a whole, they can build up and really ruin the experience for the next person. We just hope that people realize this, and I think just being out in nature inspires that. Living small inspires that. Being a minimalist inspires that. take that inspiration and make sure you're doing your part.
Somebody that would want to try to build a van, maybe if you have no woodworking experience, no plumbing experience, no electrical experience, maybe just find like a small little side project. We got a number of guys that have started in the interview process by showing us just a table they've built, a house they helped their uncle or father or anyone remodel, just, you know, maybe a car that they worked on. Getting yourself some hands-on experience with something to get a little level of confidence. Actually, an employee here, Ian, I'll give you a shout out on that. He kind of was showing me something that he's doing as far as a build in the back of his vehicle to actually do like a bed platform, some pull-out drawers and stuff like that. He actually mentioned to me that he's like, I don't think I would have had the confidence to take on this project had I not been here and kind of see how these come together. I think that's pretty cool, but I think it was just, he got his hands on with something that would lend itself to be more advantageous to maybe taking on a project of building a van. So if somebody wanted to build a van that they have no experience at all, I would say, as we did from the beginning, you look at some YouTube videos, you get on some forums, you start doing market research for the products that you actually want to go in that vehicle. And if you want to do it, don't be afraid of it. You know, you just take it one step at a time. We build pretty quick around here. You know, our build time is between 4 and 6 weeks. We're able to rifle through a pretty decent clip, I should say. But if it takes somebody 4 months, 6 months, a year, don't cut the corners. Just take your time, keep the work kind of coming. If you kind of wear out a little bit and you want to take a couple days off, just make sure you have a time to get back into it so that project doesn't go and start collecting dust. As you know, I'm sure we all had those projects through the years. Just kind of stick to it, you know, like, and don't be afraid of it. That would be it. The
van movement and just this business in general has changed me personally. I've realized it's better to invest in something that may cost more money, even just an article of clothing. Everybody has 1,000 shirts that don't fit them right, but they buy them anyways, and they fall apart. Buy something that makes you feel good, makes you feel comfortable. Invest in those things that you use. Maybe all you really use is your computer. Invest in a good computer. You don't need, you know, iPods and iPads and things to go along with it, right? Realize what you're using every day. Realize what you're not using every day, and purge, change, donate, give. Those are really important because, let's be real, you don't really need much. So an example, it's like you drive through your neighborhood, right? And you see cars parked in their driveway every single night. What's in the garage? Not the cars, stuff. With the vans, you realize there's only certain things you need. And every single camper that goes out, and they arrive with their big bags, all their things, and I always just tell people, you don't need it. When you come back, you'll tell me I was right, and they do. They're like, we didn't even open half that stuff. We get all sorts of canned items and unopened beer, which our staff loves. Random stuff that we get from rental trips because they think they need it and they don't. And so I would always say, go small. Renting a camper van, trying a camper van will make you realize that probably quicker, but you really have everything you need. You do.
So the job flow in the shop, we've actually had a couple different iterations of how it's worked. It's kind of teams of 2 in the van, just for material handling sake. You guys probably saw a lot of guys kind of working on their own in certain fashions as well. And that's because it's a small space. So certain jobs don't need 2 people. We put out a questionnaire to the guys. You know, what do you feel comfortable with? What do you want to learn? What do you think that you're not the best at, that you maybe just don't really like doing because you're afraid that it wouldn't, you know, be a good product at the end, or it would take you too long, or you know it's taking you too long to do that. That's been something that, you know, the guys are very forthcoming with that information, and we want everybody to kind of fit where they fit best in the shop. The builds go that the best qualified person is working on that project at that time, but that's not to say that you guys didn't pass a number of people today that they just weren't, you know, learning a new trait that they want to get better at, or maybe that they've never done before that they want to become more proficient at, because we are a proficiency-based company. There's no seniority here as far as pay goes. Everything is based on what your skill level is and what you're proficient at, that is what your pay will be. Being young business owners, that was kind of how we always wanted it. You know, seeing the old guard running companies of somebody's just been there 5-10 years longer than you. You're working harder than them, but they're getting paid more. It would just fried our brains. You know, you just can't understand it, why a business would run like that. So we've always stated to everybody here, and everyone knows, that the more that they are capable of, the more money that they will be able to make forever. Like, that's just, that scale can kind of continue on as high as they want to take it.
So the vans we build have been really well thought out, and it comes from experience. We've built a lot of vans in 3 years, and the goal is to make it as easy as possible. You turn on the light works, right? You open up your fridge, your food is cold. Those are things that we've done the legwork on to ensure you have enough power and the connections are correct, and the switches and the lights are in the right spot. Those are all things that we've thought through that maybe you don't think about when you're in one, but that's the beauty of it. You don't have to think. You can spend your time with the person you're traveling with, conversing, not getting upset about something not working or where is this, where is that. It's all intentionally designed for you to have fun, for you to focus on the next destination, or the destination you're in even better. And so that's really, I think, where the experience that we have comes into play. We're really happy to be able to have designed them this way. Many people haven't camped before. We give them a 20-minute demonstration on how everything works. Some people need even less, and they're off and running. And so it's really easy, and that's by design, and that just makes it more fun in the end.
So they are a very small space, and you're not going to be able to bring your home on the road in this fashion, but you can do that in a little bit smaller scale. So do we have gigantic microwaves? No, we don't. We can put smaller microwaves in. Do we have big range cooktops? No, but we do have smaller RV cooktops. The sinks, we have beautiful stainless steel sinks, beautiful butcher block countertops. Something that the customers get to choose is things that make it feel more like their own. So they're getting to choose their flooring color, they're getting to choose the upholstery material that they're gonna be sitting on. So when they actually walk in, it's not just, some stale kind of borderline depressing interior that they just got because that was what's on the lot. Like with us, you get to choose some of the stuff that actually gets to liven it up to your personality. And that's kind of what really brings us all around to getting it so you get to feel that in your tiny home of a sense that can roll down the road, it actually is more of your home and your feel. You can see your personality in the work that you get to step into, go to sleep in, and wake up to on vacations or living in, really.
I could live in a van. I intend to, I want to, I can't wait. I just need a little bit more time. The business needs me here now, but it probably won't forever. And maybe remote work is certainly possible in the vans, and to be able to transition from that, what I do now, to maybe more remote work would make it more possible, but hell yeah, I can't wait. My fiance and I talk about it all the time. I'll live in a van with her, my son, myself. I can't wait. You go travel, visit family, work, see new places. What's better than that?
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoy our documentaries as much as we enjoy making them. Unfortunately, many of our videos don't earn enough YouTube revenue to afford the cost of production. But if you like our content, the best thing you can do is directly support it on Patreon. Plus, you'll get access to behind-the-scenes vlogs and commentary. If you're looking for something more in return, go to paragraphic.io, where you can buy our other products and services. Alternatively, you can shop our Amazon storefront for our favorite equipment recommendations. Also, check out Boho, where you can find beneficial supplements to optimize your productivity. We especially love the lion's mane and mushroom gummies. And finally, consider signing up to Multitude, a platform built for long-form content, where you and other content creators can share and monetize new videos every week.